Welcome back. Find a comfortable place. Let your shoulders soften. Let the day begin to slip away. Tonight we travel softly to old Persia, to quiet courtyards of warm creamstone, to gardens of dark cypress in slow fountains, to lanterns of pierced brass glowing softly in the soft blue dusk. Breathe in slowly, breathe out slowly. Let your eyes grow heavy. Our first tale is the quiet story of the fisherman and the gentle genie. Long ago on the soft, warm shore of a calm green sea, there lived an old fisherman. His name was Karim. He was not a wealthy man. He had only a small wooden boat, an old hempen net, and a small mud brick house at the edge of the village, where his old wife waited each evening with a soft pot of lentils on the fire. Each morning, very early, before the sun had fully risen, Karim would walk down to the warm sand, push his small boat out into the calm green water, and cast his old net 3 times. For 3 long days, the net had brought him nothing. On the first day, he had pulled in only smooth, pale stones. On the second day, only a slow, drifting branch of pale seagrass. On the third day, only an old broken sandal, soft and worn from the long, quiet water. Karim was a patient man. He had been patient for many years. He sat in his small wooden boat in the soft dawn light, and he listened to the long, slow breath of the warm sea, and he prepared to cast his net one more time. The net went out, slowly, in a soft, slow arc. It sank very gently beneath the calm green surface. Karim waited. He hauled it back in, hand over slow hand. And there, tangled in the old hempen cords, was a small brass lamp. It was very old. Its sides were soft with the long, warm work of the sea. Its small lid was sealed with a heavy old wax. Karim turned it slowly in his rough, quiet hands. He thought, perhaps, in the village market, the brass alone might bring him a few coins. He sat down upon the warm wooden bench of his boat, and very gently, very curiously, he pried at the old seal. A soft, pale smoke began to rise, very slowly, from the lip of the lamp. It drifted into the gentle morning air. It grew. It curled. And it took, in the soft blue dawn, the calm shape of a very large, very gentle genie in long, flowing robes of pale silver. The genie looked down at the old fisherman with quiet, warm eyes. He bowed very slowly in the soft morning air. "Old fisherman," he said in a low, gentle voice, "you have set me free. I have been folded inside that small lamp for a very, very long time. For your kindness, I will give you a small, soft gift." He reached very gently into his long silver sleeve and drew out a small, folded square of soft white cloth. He laid it very carefully into Karim's rough, quiet hands. "Old fisherman," said the gentle genie, "when you go home this evening, set this small cloth upon your wooden table. Do not unfold it until you are seated, with your wife, in the soft lamplight of your home." And he bowed once more and grew slowly, slowly soft and pale, until he had drifted, like long, calm smoke, into the warm morning sky. Karim rode home in the warm afternoon. He told no one of the small, folded cloth in his coat. As the soft blue dusk came down over the small mud brick village, he sat at his wooden table with his old wife. He set the small cloth very gently upon the table. He unfolded it slowly. There in the soft lamplight lay a quiet meal, warm, flat bread, a small pot of slow-cooked lentils, soft, sweet dates glistening, small green olives, a small, quiet bowl of saffron rice. The old fisherman and his old wife sat together in the soft, warm lamplight, and they ate slowly, and they were content. And soft as it sounds, every evening from then on, when the lamp was lit and the small cloth was unfolded, there would be another quiet, warm meal, and they were never hungry again. Our second tale is the quiet story of the merchant and the Garden of Soft Water. Far inland in a slow, dusty city of warm creamstone, there lived a thoughtful merchant named Yusuf. He had a small shop in the old bazaar where he sold soft silk, and small bottles of rose water, and quiet wooden boxes inlaid with mother of pearl. He was a kind man. He spoke softly to his customers. He was very tired. He had been working in the warm, dusty bazaar for 30 long years, and the warm, slow afternoons had begun to weigh upon his shoulders. One slow afternoon, as Yusuf was closing the wooden shutters of his small shop, an old traveler came walking past. The old traveler had a long, pale beard and a soft gray turban and a quiet wooden staff. He stopped and bowed gently and asked Yusuf if he had heard of the Garden of Soft Water. Yusuf had not. The old traveler smiled gently. He told him in a low, quiet voice that far to the south, on a road that left the city through the old eastern gate, there lay a small, forgotten garden, hidden between two slow blue hills. Inside, said the old traveler, there grow dark cypress and quiet pomegranates, and slow, long pools of cool, clear water, and the soft brass lanterns glow there even when no one tends them. Anyone who finds the garden, said the old traveler, will rest there for one slow afternoon, and his heart will grow quiet, and he will return home a different man. Yusuf, who was very tired, did not forget. The next morning he left his shop in the care of his quiet apprentice. He took only a small leather flask of water and a soft bundle of bread and a small wooden flute. He walked out of the city through the old eastern gate along the long, warm, dusty road. He walked slowly. He walked under a slow, soft blue sky. He walked past quiet date palms and small stone wells and slow, patient travelers on their long camels. The day grew warm. The road grew quiet. After a long, slow time, he came to the gap between two soft blue hills. Between the two soft hills, there stood a low wall of warm creamstone, half hidden by a slow drift of pale honeysuckle. A small wooden gate, the color of soft old turquoise, stood slightly open. Yusuf paused. He listened. He heard, from beyond the gate, the slow, quiet sound of moving water. He pushed the small gate very gently, and he stepped inside. The garden was small. It was quiet. It was very kind. There were long, slow pools of cool, clear water set into the soft, warm stone, lined with small, pale blue tiles. There were tall, dark cypress trees, standing very still in the warm, soft afternoon. There were slow pomegranate trees with their warm red fruit. There were small brass lanterns hanging quietly from the cypress branches, glowing very softly, even in the warm afternoon light, as if the garden held its own slow, quiet evening always within it. There were no other travelers. The garden was waiting only for him. Yusuf walked very slowly along the soft, warm tiles at the edge of the long, quiet pool. He sat down upon a small carved stone bench beneath a slow cypress tree. He took out his small wooden flute. He played, very softly, a slow, old melody he had not played since he was a boy. The notes drifted out across the long, quiet pool. The slow lanterns glowed. The cypress trees stood very still. The warm afternoon held him, very kindly, and very gently, Yusuf began to feel the long, warm years of the bazaar lift, softly, from his old shoulders. He sat for a long, slow time. He breathed in the warm scent of slow honeysuckle. He listened to the small, slow sound of the moving water. He ate his soft bread very slowly. He drank his cool water. He closed his eyes. He let his shoulders drop, and the small, kind garden held him, like a slow, quiet cradle through the warm, soft afternoon. When the soft blue dusk began to come down between the two soft hills, Yusuf rose very slowly from the small carved bench. He gave the long, quiet pool a quiet, small bow. He walked very softly back through the small turquoise gate and out onto the warm, dusty road, and home in the long blue evening to his small shop in the old bazaar. He never spoke about the garden. He only seemed, from that quiet afternoon on, a little softer in his work, a little slower in his step, a little kinder in his voice. And on warm, dusty afternoons, when the bazaar was very busy and his heart was very tired, he would close his eyes very gently and hear very softly the slow sound of moving water, and feel very kindly the warm, soft afternoon of the small, forgotten garden, somewhere between two soft blue hills. Our third tale, told very softly, is the quiet story of Scheherazad's gentle knight. Long ago, in a great pale palace of warm cream stone, there lived a wise young woman named Scheherazade. The palace was vast. Its corridors were long and very quiet. The brass lanterns burned softly through the long blue evenings. Scheherazade was the wife of the king, and the king was not a cruel man, only a very, very tired one. He had been carrying for many slow years a heavy, quiet sorrow upon his shoulders, and he could not sleep. And so each long blue evening, when the lanterns were lit and the warm, pale corridors were quiet, Scheherazade would sit beside the king upon a soft, low cushion, and very gently she would tell him a quiet, old story. She did not tell him stories of war. She did not tell him stories of harm. She told him the soft, slow ones. The story of the small, kind tailor who mended the moon. The story of the old shepherd who heard the desert sing softly at dusk. The story of the silver fish who taught a small, lonely boy the slow language of the river. Tonight, she said, her voice very soft, I will tell you a small story about a quiet rooftop in a quiet city in a quiet, warm summer. On the rooftop, said Scheherazade, there grew, in soft clay pots, a small, slow garden of basil and mint and small pink jasmine. And every evening, in the long blue dusk, a small old woman would come up the warm stone stairs very slowly with a small brass watering can, and she would water her small, slow garden very gently, and she would sit upon a soft cushion on the warm stone ledge, and she would listen to the soft, slow city below. A warm, slow breeze, said Scheherazade, would come up from the warm, narrow streets. It would carry with it the soft, slow sound of someone's distant flute. It would carry the warm, slow scent of someone's slow evening cooking. It would carry the small, slow voices of children playing softly in a quiet courtyard far below. And the small old woman would sit, and she would smile very softly, and she would feel very gently the long, warm calm of the soft blue evening settle slowly upon her shoulders. And in the great, warm, pale palace, the king listened. His tired shoulders began to drop very gently. The slow, heavy weight of his long, quiet sorrow began to soften, just a little, at the edges. The slow, soft brass lanterns burned quietly. Scheherazade's voice was very, very soft. She told him about the slow, soft jasmine on the warm clay pots. She told him about the long blue dusk above the small clay rooftops. She told him about the small, slow garden of basil and mint, gently watered in the soft evening air. And in the long, warm calm of her voice, the king began, at last, to sleep. He had not slept like this in many long, quiet years. His old face grew very calm. His shoulders rested. His old breath grew very slow. Scheherazade gently set the small, low cushion aside. She drew very softly the soft, warm blanket up to his quiet shoulders. She moved very gently the small brass lantern a little further away, so that the soft, warm light would not wake him. She stood very softly beside him, and she looked at him very kindly. The great pale palace was very, very quiet. The long blue night moved slowly over the warm creamstone. The slow lanterns burned quietly in the long pale corridors, and Scheherazade smiled very softly, and she let her own old shoulders at last drop a little, and she let her own warm, tired heart begin, very gently, to rest. That is enough for tonight. Let the story settle softly into your quiet mind, like slow water into a soft, pale pool. Let your breath move slowly, in and out. The soft brass lanterns are dimming. The night is very kind. Sleep gently, sleep deeply, and we will meet again on another quiet evening with another